Coming up this week on The Week in Business, the Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce holds conference on setting up businesses in the UK post-Brexit at the NBCC Plaza, Lekki, Phase 1, Lagos. Africa Prudential PLC holds grand opening ceremony of renovated and upgraded office building at Palm Grove, Lagos. World Bank holds launch of the Nigeria Development Update December 2023 edition virtually. EFINA holds launch of Access to Financial Services in Nigeria 2023 survey findings at Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos. Welcome. It's great to have you join us on this week's edition of The Week in Business, where we share with you some of the major events in the world of business in Nigeria this past week. Thank you for tuning in. I am Taiwo Akinawo. All right, first on the event highlight for this week, we begin with the Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce conference themed Setting Up Businesses in the UK Post-Brexit at the NBCC Plaza, Lekki, Phase 1, Lagos. The conference featured an analysis of the changes in UK's immigration policies post-Brexit and their impacts on businesses and individuals, covering topics such as the new point system and sponsorship rules. It further explored the immigration paths available for entrepreneurs and investors seeking to establish or expand their businesses in the UK. Whether as a local or international business, the event was in total the blueprint for a successful business launch in the dynamic UK markets.
Sort of my main prompt word, and it's perception. And 12 years ago when I came here, and I'm talking to entrepreneurs or business people and business families, and I'm saying, so what business are you into? And yeah, we're into this. And I'm going, oh, wow, you know, the UK must be a great market for you. Oh, we don't do anything in the UK. And you go, why? And they go, oh, it's too difficult. It's very hard. We didn't know anything about immigration, but we heard it's really, really hard. And then you drill down into it and you realize it's perception. The reality is that there's a vacuum of legal knowledge. And that's the point, that once you're on ground providing accurate legal immigration advice, which shifts with the sands, as we see with Rishi Sunak recently, yes, you have to be up to date to know how the laws are interpreted at any given moment. So, you know, the perception has always been there that Britain is tough, and I'm here to go, yes, it is tough, but there are ways. Of British immigration. So you might have read that before last week, if you're a British spouse, you're a British person, and you want to bring in your foreign wife, you have to have a salary of £18,600. Okay, that's let's say an average salary in London, but outside London, that's a good salary. And he has seen fit to penalise British people who've got foreign husbands or wives by increasing that salary to 38,800 or whatever it is, which may be affordable in London, but if you're from Belfast in Northern Ireland like me, or the north of England or Scotland, people will never afford that. So Brexit happened. Britain obviously realized in their wisdom they weren't going to, the population, not the government, but they realized that they weren't going to get European workers being able to come in. So the government basically brought in transitional immigration policies, which, let's say, were very, very favorable. So if I could explain very quickly, if you are a British company before and you want to employ a Nigerian person, you have to get an immigration license. and you have to be vetted to make sure your UK company is strong enough. Then you get the license, and that license maybe you would only get after 6 months or a year. After you've got the license, before, then you would have to advertise the job to the British people and European population, and then you go through all the work permit hoops. Because of the transitional arrangements now, there's a huge window of opportunity, because now the government in their wisdom have realized that startup companies need workers in from abroad to kickstart the businesses. So now it is possible to get a license after maybe weeks, maybe not even with trading. Now there is no longer any advertising requirements, and you can go straight to trying to get a work permit. And this is key to the Nigerian market, because this is now under a wrapper of self-sponsorship. Because before, if you were working for a British company as a foreigner, you couldn't get a work permit if you had more than 10% shareholding in the British company, unless you had a salary of 170,000. Now you can self-sponsor. Now, as a Nigerian person, we have clients this week, you can set up in the UK, you can get your license quickly, and then use that company to bring yourself in on a work permit under your own vehicle. So this is hugely advantageous, but the window will close at some point.
Yes, so I'm sure we all know now, with money laundering, it's a big issue, and the regulator in the UK for the banks, when these banks don't do what they need to do, it's a big problem for the banks, and that's why the banks are also running away from some countries, because there's always that red flag with Nigeria, some Dubai, and some other countries. So the solution, like God said, is you having something on ground in the UK. So if you have something on ground in the UK, then you can go to the high street banks. You would even get better rates. Go to the high street banks, set up, have a business there, have accounts there, and then you can do what you want to do. So the solution really is, and which is what we're trying to, what we're saying, is you need to have one foot in the UK market. Very, very key. And then that way, smooth operation, you can do these things, you can do your business.
Yeah.
Now let's go witness the grand opening ceremony of Africa Prudential PLC's renovated and upgraded office building, which held on Tuesday, the 12th of December 2023 at Pangrove, Lagos. The ceremony brought together board members, clients, partners, and stakeholders in the capital markets. Additionally, the chairman of the board, Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi, while cutting the ribbon to open the reconstructed head office building, assured that it will help to improve customer experience and strengthen the relationship with stakeholders.
From seeking to bring the business closer to the location of its shareholders and customers, the company has now taken a second step of ensuring that its services are offered in a conducive atmosphere for the delight and comfort of stakeholders, shareholders, and all our customers. This newly reconstructed head office building of the company, for which we are all gathered here, is designed to enhance the ambience of the work environment, not only of the employees, for the employees, but also for the sustainable growth of the company, and to meet the needs of the stakeholders and climate change mitigation. Also, the nature of our work now has moved from purely registrar business to one in which embraces technology and is driven by technology. So the building it's a built-for-purpose building and designed to meet exactly the job description of various management and for the customer skill. Therefore, on behalf of the board and management of Africa Prudential PLC, we're just happy to receive you, and to the glory of God, the people of Nigeria, and on behalf of my colleagues on the board of directors, we hereby cut this open for business.
Introduce our head of pre-sales, Osaho Eliho, and the acting CTO Tony, who will take us through this flow. Tony and Osaho.
Okay, good morning, Chairman and distinguished board of directors. You are welcome once again. So on this floor, this is the huddle area where you can have quick meetings and stand-ups where people just have one-on-one sessions. This is the general staff sitting area where people come and walk their workstations. Okay, and moving on, we have the meeting room on this floor. And we can just take a peek and see inside. Yes, very nice, thank you. Okay, so moving on, we have the one area and the phone booths at this corner. You have where people can have just a photo wall at the back and a phone booth where people make quick calls, and also something similar as well.
Yeah, we're in the capital market. We're listed, 258,000 shareholders. We also have a lot of other and partners and stakeholders. And so, always we have to constantly innovate and constantly evolve. And, and just looking at creating the right environment, creating the right system, bringing up sustainability practices across everything we do is very, very key to sustain that growth and development. We're in a very, very tough market. And for us, thinking out of the box, bringing in a lot of design thinking principles to what we do, whether it is the place we work, whether it's the space, whether it's the kind of service we deliver, whether it's the kind of business model we drive, where we just make sure that at every point in time, we're looking at what new, what next, what is the environment telling us, how do we need to pivot, and what do we need to add to just always constantly create value for all those stakeholders.
As a company that realized that we needed to respond to the needs of our people, we now continue doing the same thing but being driven by technology. And what do I mean by that? The same information they require, we now use technology to provide them with that information without having to come to our office, without them having to leave their home and come to our office. So this building is now a built for purpose building, and it meets the needs of our customers in that we have got the right infrastructure, we have the right appliances and tools correctly positioned in the building, and the spacing, all of that properly done so that we are in a position to continuously give out information on services. We are able to provide documentation online, and perhaps you can also appreciate as a news media, the kind of equipment that we use now is more geared towards a technology-driven company.
Next up is the World Bank Nigeria Development Update Launch December 2023 edition, which held virtually on Wednesday, the 13th of December 2023. The Nigeria Development Update, released by World Bank every 6 months, is a biannual publication which looks at recent economic and social developments, prospects and policies, and takes a closer look at selected emerging issues, spotlighting critical aspects of Nigeria's development agenda.
In 2020, 2021, it was the call for business unusual. A need to really break from really what has been decades of kind of a particular set of policies and measures that Nigeria had adopted, and arguing that for Nigeria to realize its full potential, Nigeria needed to really break from business as usual. December 2022 was Nigeria's choice, not just in political terms, but actually in economic terms, in developmental terms. Is Nigeria willing to break from the past? And in June, we did see that break. And that's when we titled it Seizing the Opportunity. I said at a recent event, and I will say it again here, the 2 steps that this administration, and in particular His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, took in pretty much in his first day in office, and then 2 weeks later, the central bank, the unification. So first day in office was removing the gasoline subsidy. I've worked in every country in Asia, and I can say that required courage. That kind of bold move, political courage, to do that on something that is ingrained into Nigerian political culture, into the kind of thinking of the public, that this is an entitlement, this is something that government has to provide. To break with that and to kind of hazard the reaction that it would elicit took political courage, and I think that we've all recognized. Subsequently, the unification of the exchange rate. So you'll hear Alex talk about it. So those two steps, those bold reforms, of the metaphor that I often use, it's recognizing that you need open bypass surgery. A patient who needs open bypass heart bypass surgery, but fearing that this would be too radical a step. And yet, so it requires courage to take that step. The last 6 months has basically been about, once you've taken those bold steps, what next? So the first is to acknowledge that it has been painful. Prices have gone up. The lifting of gasoline prices, the unification, kind of allowing the exchange rate to be more market reflective, has made life more difficult for millions of Nigerians. And the government has taken steps to provide relief. In the aftermath of surgery, there's a need to provide relief to ease the pain. And the government has also taken steps on the road to recovery in terms of tightening monetary policy, in terms of thinking about ways of consolidating the fiscal. But that is an ongoing process. So that's the third part, is that Nigeria still isn't out of the woods. Challenges remain. But we do see Nigeria, kind of the policy mix, the stance of government, the intent of government is very clear. So that's where we arrived at the title, Turning the Corner. And Nigeria is very close to turning the corner. Full recovery, on a path to full recovery. And that's what we hope today's discussion will be about. Alex will provide many more details of kind of each part of this story, the bold reforms, why they were needed, the pain, the challenges that have emerged and that remain, and then how our assessment of what it would take to finally turn the corner.
Thank you very much, Rotos. Good morning, honorable ministers, government officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all thank Shubham for this continued dialogue and this continued interaction, which is of great benefit to the government. The World Bank itself yes, it's a lender, but much more important than that, I think, is the thought leadership and their ability to respond and interact on issues of the day, so that going into the major reforms that have been made, the World Bank was a key sounding board and source of research that led to a lot of what has been done. And as we saw today, we're actually on the right track if you look at what has been presented. And I'll get to answer Rotos' question in this way. We're on the right track. You can see the ratings agencies are saying it. Around the world, the major institutions, the major bilateral organizations, and even governments are saying it. However, there is more to be done. The direction of travel has been set, but people focus on the two key reforms. But alongside those reforms, there have been interventions, and it's important, it was referred to by Alex, but it's important to put it right up front. Alongside the reforms, there are interventions on behalf of the poor and the most vulnerable. Not just direct transfers into people's accounts, which is funded by a World Bank loan. There's also a partial wage award has been made by Mr. President. And in addition to that, shortly, there will be early or right on course, there will be next year a new wage structure based on a new minimum wage. Okay. So it's important to say that that's a wholesale part of the reforms.
Let me start by saying that it is important to look at context. It's important to look at context because you talk about MPC meetings and the fact that over a period of time, we were used to having 6 MPC meetings, but in this particular year, we've had 4. Yeah. Now, one has to ask the question, to what extent did those meetings actually achieve results? And really and truly, if they didn't, then you have to ask yourself, do you really want to continue with this system? And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the answer is no. And that is why we took time to look at the existing framework and significantly come up with something differently. And that's where we're heading into 2024, okay? Whereby we will be using inflation targeting, okay, and we will ensure that the use of monetary policy actually cascades down and has an impact. I mean, doing these meetings takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of thought. And like you rightly pointed out, at a time like this, we must ensure that we are getting results for what we are doing.
Finally, on the event highlights for this week's edition of the Week in Business is the launch of the Access to Financial Services in Nigeria 2023 survey findings by EFINA, themed Unlocking Insights to Accelerate Financial and Economic Inclusion. The event theme underscored the event's alignment with the strategic objectives of accelerating financial and economic inclusion by extracting meaningful insights from data, highlighting the importance of data-driven decision-making for inclusive and impactful financial and economic growth. The launch, which held at Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos, further unveiled key survey findings from the A2F 2023 survey and fostered transformative discussions for positive change.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, financial inclusion has become a global development imperative. It is critical to bridging income inequality, combating poverty, and forging social harmony. To buttress this, over 68 countries have developed and are currently implementing national financial inclusion strategies. At its core, financial inclusion provides the opportunity for equitable distribution of financial resources to support economic growth. It also contributes to the attainment of central banks' goal of price and monetary stability. An inclusive financial system that allows broad access to a wide range of formal financial services is essential for better transmission of monetary policy actions. It's expected that the survey findings will also reveal the need to refocus attention on the financial health of Nigerian citizens, especially in the wake of global economic shocks. We must redouble our efforts to develop innovative solutions to enable inclusion and be intentional about how we execute. For instance, The access points and solutions that proved effective in the past for the included population might not be suitable for currently excluded segments. The products and services that we developed to get us to where we are now will need some refinement to ensure that they are fit for purpose for the next phase of the journey.
Broader developmental programs, such as access to finance for agriculture, you'll see major references to farmers, access to finance for health, education, and we encourage stakeholders to leverage the data to explore access to finance for these much more broader developmental outcomes. We also have 2 booster samples. I want to speak to this so that we actually anticipate that. We've heard a lot today about what access to finance can do in terms of our developmental outcomes. And so in certain states, for example, in Kaduna State, we're going a little bit deeper to look at access to finance, even at the local government level. I also want to set a context, because we're talking about the adult Nigerian population. We have information on that. So let's establish some context so that we are in the same understanding of the population that we're speaking to. So we will look at Nigeria at a glance, and then we'll look at the financial inclusion numbers, and then make some recommendations. So this is quite important. Sorry, can I have that back? Because we always say when we talk about financial inclusion, that for those of us who the bottom picture might be our reality, we're asking in this room that you please also look at these numbers from the lens of the picture at the top as well. So Nigeria is not just Lagos and Abuja. We're speaking to people in rural areas, and please also apply that in our review and understanding of this data.
Well, that's it on the Week in Business program for today. Thank you very much for watching. For more business, finance, and economic content, follow us on all our social media platforms at WebTVNigeria and visit our website, www.poshare.co. Till next week, thank you once again for watching. I am Taiwa Kinawa. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a beautiful week ahead.